start with today's episode, that is a part two for our BYOB, that is Bring Your Own Balance or Beverage, what we call it. This is a talk show where we discuss about different mental illness related issues or maybe the taboos that are there into corporate areas which doesn't have any platform to share. And this particular talk space or sharing space, I would say, a virtual space, we are going to discuss those topics which are essential and which are usually brushed under the carpet. So today's episode is a part two to previous last week's episode where we were talking about the Macho Man syndrome, and we have actually touched based upon lot many aspects wherein Macho Man syndrome or the machismo man, which is a kind of a toxic masculinity which has come in and which has really been a problematic area for both men to operate into society and but obvious women also are facing the bleeds. So today again we have with us Gokul. He is a founder of Mindset Maximus. He works as a psychologist and he is a designer of different assessment tools which calibrates what are the stress level, what are the anxiety level, what are the bipolar part. It is a very interactive tool in which a person can calibrate what are the stress levels and he can get a better idea about his mental markers, I would say.
Yeah.
So, with that, welcome Gokul again.
Hi, Abhijit. Glad to be
All right.
back here
All
again.
right. And we have one of the most versatile speaker that we have in HR space, who is a constant kind of an contributor towards this topic with his expertise and experience that he has crossed against all his profiles. So we have Edwin Joel with us. So welcome,
Thank you,
Edwin,
Abhijit.
to the part two. We didn't had enough time last time to discuss all the topics that were there. We briefly
Yes.
collected a little bit glimpse about how the macho man syndrome is actually effective and the problematic area that we are facing. So today this would be a part two, and last time we just touched based upon a very basic understanding of just getting clarity about what is the role and what is the persona of a macho man. So today we are just going to deep dive into the next questions. This is just a conversation that we have. And I want other question that has to be answered that we'll start directly with the question, or even if you want to give certain kind of input before we start. So anybody, Gokul, if you want to give any input of last conversation, or Eden, if you want to just give it a start, then we can just play along.
See, I think last time you had summarized it well, saying there are a lot of dimensions to that,
Hmm.
but there are people not knowing how to put across. We are looking at our own evolution
Hmm.
from our civilization, what
Right,
the three W's, and how we become from a nomadic culture to a civilized culture,
right.
and how our physical boundaries were being set in, and
Hmm.
how turmoiled a person is there actually,
Right.
and he himself doesn't know. And then when you look at both the genders, we're looking at the inclusion of the next gender as well, the third
Hmm.
gender, and the gender fluidity.
Hmm.
And we also touch based on how comfortable are parents talking about this changes with their own kids.
Right, right. So there were two more things that we were talking about. It was like normalizing, the macho man syndrome, creating a self-destructive loop for, men when they are working with corporate environment, because there is like a 70% of suicides in USA, or specifically for to a gender that is men, and they are facing this particular kind of macho man syndrome in a worst case scenario. And recently, I was just listening to, uh, uh, I think I was one of the writer who have talked about the hero journey. I think Gokul can help me with the name. I think it's Campbell, Mr. Campbell. So, so he has talked about the hero journey, and that has really fascinated me in understanding that as a man who is growing up into society, and definitely a younger generation of men who are now into the society, are we lacking on actual or maybe say a healthy uh, macho man role model that is there? So this question goes to Gokul that with your psychological study, what do you think? The hero's journey that most of the men who takes over to
Yeah.
understand himself and presented challenges into in the world and rediscovering what is his potential, pushing himself to the boundaries, where he can, dismantle his old belief, where he can recreate his own self. But
Yeah.
most lot of men in today's world are glued to their comfort zone, and they are not taking this particular journey that is called as the hero journey, which a lot of our mythology also talk about. Like in
Yeah.
Ramayana, in Mahabharata, if you talk about that, Ram has taken the exile, and he has that particular challenge, that journey of him has actually made him Purushottam, rather than if he would have stayed into his palace, he would have never considered as a Purushottam. So,
Exactly.
Lord Mail, if we even talk about Gautam Buddha, he, even if he has stayed into the palace, he would have not been the Buddha that we know of. He would have just been Siddharth. So that
Yeah.
is something. Even for Jesus, if we talk about that particular journey that is there, the hero journey, wherein Jesus has gone to, there is a kind of inner circle that is there, that he talks about, that Jesus has came to India and has learned about a lot many spiritual gurus, and then he came back and established his foundation of the religion of compassion. So that
Yeah.
is where I think those were the men, those are the success stories. But when we talk about a psychological effect, the hero's journey, and when you see the man and the depression that is ramping up in today's society, how you
Yeah.
see this particular thing, Gokul, like how this particular theory that has been placed or proposed by Mr. Campbell, how it is relevant today?
There are two sides to this today in today's context. Like people who take that macho man thing on a very extreme level and become emotionally abusive and like not so a fit person for today's context and today's society. And
Hmm.
also there is the other kind of men who like don't even go around and find out themselves and
Hmm. Hmm.
stay
Hmm.
there timid, as you mentioned, like staying in their own comfort zones and not
Right.
coming out.
Hmm.
So it is like a middle area there is where you can be a man, where you take care of your responsibilities, be competent, be competitive in whatever you do, be that man that people look forward to when they have something, people that look up to like that,
Hmm. Hmm.
and not be abusive towards the people that are under you. And also a man who is like strong enough to be his own self, like when he is vulnerable, when he is feeling emotionally down, who is like strong enough to address it and honest enough to let people know about it. So that
Hmm.
is the kind of area I think that is needed today.
Hmm.
And the kind of hero's journey that we speak about, literally speaking, traveling will help rediscover a person by themselves. And that is something that a lot of us are not privileged enough to do today.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, like we all have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of tight schedules and timelines that we need to be adhered to.
Hmm. Hmm.
Where like even the 2 day weekend ends up like 1 day for the rest, and the Sunday is for the anxiety for the upcoming week. Like that, we
Right.
just prepare ourselves mentally for the upcoming week.
Hmm.
So it has become like that. Even long weekends take like half of the time take up on resting the burnout that we were facing the previous
Hmm.
times.
Hmm. Hmm.
So most of the time it goes like that. So
Hmm. Hmm.
usually what happens is with burnout we are in terms of energy we'll be in
Hmm.
negative, and
Hmm.
we'll
Hmm.
have to reach the zero, and then
Hmm.
we'll have to like recharge our social energy and all those things. So usually these leaves and recreationals, if the person is in negative, will push it to the zero, but not to
Hmm.
the 100.
All right.
Ideally, we are looking to put the person in their 100% best self.
Hmm.
And what we are doing here is like the most of the time the person doesn't have that particular environment, even though people uh, a lot of people do take career breaks to rediscover themselves. A lot of people take long weekends, plan their entire weeks leaves for the upcoming year, even before the HR prepares the holidays for the upcoming year. So
Right.
there are people like that, like
Hmm.
so coming to that. And I would say like a hero is someone who not only looks after him, but also someone who takes care of his people.
Right.
So
Hmm.
on that note, like human resources are literally hero resources. Like it is not only something that we are not only doing this for money, or like HRs are not only doing this
Right. Hmm.
as a part of their profession. A lot of
Hmm.
time, like they go above and beyond just for the sake of that one particular employee. Like, it is not like we are incentivized like a customer support team, where if a particular customer appreciates the particular customer support executive, like there will be an incentive for that particular associate. But for HRs, we if we see like we don't get incentivized for these kind of things. We might be noted for it, we might be recognized for it, but still, we even if we don't, we still go forward and do those things because that's just who HRs are. So, like as a so on that note, a hero's journey. When we think about other people, when we think at the point where we take up the responsibility of taking care of a set of people who we think that we need to take care of them, that is the moment a person like becomes a hero.
Great, great. So I would be coming to Edwin about your perspective on hero's journey.
See, I'll keep it very simple.
Hmm.
See, for HR, our basics comes from our Maslow's theory of hierarchy.
Yeah. So
I
I
I
would
I
totally.
I'm a non conventional HR, so I usually like to keep it to the basics because a lot of
Ah.
times we are not inclined to the basic part. We
Mm-hmm.
talk a lot of things which are out of the boundaries and out of
Right.
our domain, but we don't stick to the basics. So when we
Right.
look at the hierarchy, it actually gives you a path breaking scenario, like step by step how you can go. So when we look at, I'll connect it to our own personal lives. We will have like
Mm-hmm.
our parents and our forefathers looking at only roti, kapda, and makan, the basic
Mm-hmm.
needs and everything. Now, when we had fulfilled those needs, we had given the next generation with a livelihood where they can look at their own aspirations. So their
Right.
basics were being taken care, and then they moved across. And
Mm.
now, when we look at the recent generation, they're more inclined towards the social responsibility. So we
Mm-hmm.
have given a greater generation which is responsible, wherein they are looking at social responsibility. Due owing to their social responsibility, they are also bringing in corporate social responsibility dimension to this.
Right.
And when we look at Christianity, we have seven sacraments,
Right.
the path breaks which each individual can go through if he is a Catholic or a Protestant. See, there are a lot of bifurcations. I'll want to make one more point is like these are my personal opinions. Please do not target
No,
those
no, no,
respective peoples because see,
no,
when
no.
a
Mm.
person speaks, it is neutralized and being taken across. So when you look at Christianity, we have seven sacraments which we
Mm.
take it like first is the baptism where once a person is born, he is being put into the Christian faith. Like his parents can take it. In few of Christians, it is taken like the parents will take it. Like in the Catholic, the parents has to take on behalf of the child that we will bring this child in the righthood in the Christian principles and thing. So that's the first one, baptism. So now we have people who are of the opinion like child bada hona mangta hai, and then he should take that responsibility.
Right.
And then there is always a fight saying water baptism hona mangta hai ya ye baptism hona mangta hai. The parents can take it. Leaving aside that thing, so when we look at that, we have different sacraments. So first is like baptism. Second is about the Holy Communion, where we are talking about the Last Supper, and we take the bread and wine in the form like the body and the blood of Christ. And then we have confirmation where we anoint the person with the church and seals with the Holy Spirit. And then reconciliation is about our confessions. If we
Mm-hmm.
did something wrong, forgiveness of our sins and all those things we talk about. And then we have the fifth one like anointing of the sick. Agar
Right.
koi are there in their last near their ill or death period, anointing
Mm-hmm.
him with the Holy Spirit and the oil and praying by the priest. The next sixth one is the marriage, the holy matrimony, where a man unites with a woman to have a lifelong covenant. So it's not a business agreement or something, it's a covenant.
Mm-hmm.
How our relationship is with the Christ on the church,
Right.
that we are looking at. And then the next one with the seventh one we have is the holy order where the person can go for uh, not going for holy matrimony, the marriage, and then look at ordinance towards
Mm.
deacon or priest or bishops, wherein we're looking at self actualization.
Right.
So how do I connect is like each sacrament is a channel of like divine grace for people to
Mm-hmm.
go through different spiritual and earthly lives.
Mm-hmm.
So each religion has this bifurcation being given to us so that we live a decent life.
Mm.
But are we inclined to that, or are we fighting for something which is not being
Mm.
written?
Mm-hmm.
Misrepresentations are being brought in to different
Right.
religions,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a chaos.
Right.
And people don't know what is the right thing.
Great.
I think you both can bring in some similarities to bring in a convergence of technology and a convergence of a common point wherein people
Mm-hmm.
are rooted to their basics and grounded.
Right. So very beautifully put, Edwin. I think one of the element that I really liked when it comes to Christianity is, appointment of a godfather and godmother. Now, why I see that at a very higher place in that particular culture is we usually have this mentorship, okay, or guru pratha in Hinduism or wherever you go. So mentorship is really very important. As you said that sometimes we have a certain principle, ingrained into our religious belief, which actually guides your path into spiritual realm, and also it is a kind of a way to adjust into the societal life, which has finite resources which we can use, reducing our greed and all those things. So now those things do come in play. But when I see it in terms of relationship as a man, there is one question that I feel like this comes in that particular realm. In terms of the question says like, does society over reliance on women's emotional labor deepens the gap between genders? Now, let me explain what this question is all about. What is the emotional labor? Why men are more dependent on women's emotional labor? Because what happens? The emotional labor refers to the invisible and often unpaid work, okay, of managing emotions, relationship, and interpersonal dynamics. Okay. Now, this term is being there, but it is expected from a gender specific part. Men are not that much responsible. Okay, why I'm just coming to this particular fact, because none of the religion or those way, like if you talk about grahasti in Hinduism or in that particular part, the emotional labor is somewhere is a part of a woman, or it is gender specific. And when we have this kind of environment, I'm just shifting the topic from men to a little bit of women, because that is the 50% of our team members. If they are stressed and if they are bogged down by this particular emotional labor, that is going to create a negative impact on the society, the unit that is family. Okay, when a woman is also working, she's coming with a particular exhaustion, same as men. But when it comes to emotional labor, which I talk about managing the emotion, relationship, and the interpersonal dynamics, that women also have to take, one step back when a man is angry or he has a ego fight. So now this is where the toxic, masculinity also have that kind of, taken for granted kind of an approach. Yeah, this particular part, woman has to understand. I'm not going to take that part. Okay. So society often expect women to manage emotional labor by default. Okay. What they do, they place the burden of maintaining harmony in relationship. That is what they want, right? Like family, like let's say planning family schedules or supporting the morale, even in team and even at workplace. So that is also expected from man, from women, that don't act like a man, just be like, be more coordinating, be more accommodative. So when this kind of so I just want your both's view, like how this particular labor, emotional labor dependency on gender specificism, how it affects. That is a part of toxic masculinity. How it affects in work environment and psychologically how it affects. So I would like Edwin to first take this. What do you think?
A woman is considered as a mother. So nurturing things comes from that perspective.
Right,
So and they labor it out for the childbirth.
right.
So the connect happens over there, like the Avatar
Mm,
movie.
mm.
You're
Hmm.
connected to your roots. So we
Right.
are taking a woman to the nurturing part and taking the family to the next level.
Right.
And that labor comes into a father saying he's stressed out with a lot of things. He's not
Hmm. Hmm.
telling the other
Hmm.
person across, but it's there in
Hmm.
the mind.
But when we talk about contemporary thing, because that was something that was traditionally there. You're not able to hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So did you got the question? Like, uh, yeah. So traditionally, we have seen this particular rule. We expecting the caretaker as a woman, bread runner or bread earner as a man, and that has created a lot of conflicts. That has been a kind of, as we say, gender fluidity is something that the gender rigidity has caused the problem. Now the gender fluidity can be one of the solution, but not at the cost of lowering the masculinity or hurting the sentiment of a man. Because what happens in this particular thing, the question that was in the last episode, that are we being less men when we are adopting feminism? So that was the one thing. So when it comes to this particular part, what kind of policies that we can put into HR, what kind of tangible way of looking at that would be there? Because conversationally, we will have a lot of conversation on that.
I'll take it like, see, when a man is handling a crisis,
Hmm.
then he's taken like responsibilities. He's pressurized to uphold the tough image
Right.
because he's a man.
Hmm. Hmm.
So leadership trainings can be imparted, which should incorporate leadership strength to include vulnerability and empathy as well.
Right. Right. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So how can emotional intelligence and leadership modules can be put in, which should look at like coach care model, that kind of a coaching, mentoring, and I'll give you basic example is like
Hmm.
mentoring. We have it now.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
also have a concept called as reverse mentoring,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
wherein a junior person mentors to a senior person
Right.
on a technical forte. So it has to
Right.
happen both the way. Instead of
Okay.
reverse mentoring,
Hmm.
like
Hmm. Hmm.
less experience to the experience, I would
Hmm.
look at it like a holistic mentoring, wherein there is a
Right.
transfer of power, there
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
transfer of resources, transfer of energy, transfer of what do you say, responsibilities between both the genders in a family.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Why has the family stayed together is not out of suppression, but because of our traditions.
Right. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So can we bring that same empathy to leadership as well?
Hmm. 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 Okay. Great. Great. Okay. Yes, that's a valid point, Edwin. What about you, Gokul?
Yeah, so I think in this particular thing, like when it comes to man, like there are a lot of things that we as a society need to learn and unlearn a lot of things. So yeah, advocate emotional intelligence
Yes,
training
and
and
yeah.
normalize. Yeah, not only for the employees, from the society point of view, I think a large chunk of us, a lot of us need to learn this. And from the HR point of view, we need to like implement learning and development programs and well-being programs from experts, where we can let employees be aware of these things, and then train them accordingly based on their individual requirements and also on group manners as well. Like there is no such thing as this is a man job and this is a woman job.
Hmm.
Traditionally, we at some point divided it for the sake of convenience, and eventually it got stuck with the genders. And after years of evolution, things became like this is a man job and this is a woman job, and this is like so. And since it is a woman job, as a man I won't do it, and since it's a man job I won't do it as a woman, like that. But at this point of our society, I would say we are questioning a lot of things, learning and unlearning our human connection fundamentally, like on what basis we have been interacting with the fellow human beings and all
Hmm.
those
Hmm.
things. So if something is transaction, the upcoming generation, I'm seeing a kind of an observation is, if something is transactional, you don't have to sugarcoat it, like let's just keep it transactional.
Right.
And if someone is very close, like I'll have the banter and all those things like that. So
Hmm.
what is happening is, like we are fundamentally changing that human interaction and the way of communication that we have had for a very long period of time.
Hmm.
So, and simultaneously we are also, like questioning the typical gender roles,
Hmm. Hmm.
like as a man I won't do the dishes, I won't cook, like that, like those
Right.
are all became a part of a life skill where
Hmm.
whoever is entering adulthood has to learn it, like for your own sake of survival, like that.
Right.
So
Right.
COVID, I think, just to break in, COVID spoiled
yeah,
everyone and brought normalization to household work.
Right. Right.
yeah,
But
yeah,
some,
a large
yeah,
chunk of people.
that has really made me think that there was one training that was based upon one of the doctors, no, doctors, nahi, I think it's one of the psychologists. It's called as Gottman method. If you are
Yeah,
aware of this, Gokul,
yeah,
Dr. John and Julian Gottman, these are the people who actually invented how couple supposed to start making emotional labor as a distribution partners. How are the
yeah,
core components? So what they are talking about, they're like how the sound relationship supposed to be. So they divided their entire therapy into three components. They talk about the sound relationship house. So in this, this was a metaphor actually, and what they talked about is building a love map. So that is like knowing your partner's inner world, like what are their hopes, what
yeah,
are their dreams, what are their fears, and what are their traumas. And most of the time, what happens in relationship when a person is coming from any kind of past baggage, he always come unhealed. He is not healed completely. He just like once you have a void, our mind is like, can I fill it as soon as possible? You don't have that partner. Reflection nahi hota hai. We don't have reflections. And when we don't have reflection about what has gone wrong and what has not been gone wrong. So this is where building love maps is really important. And this is one of the training that we attended at that point of time. So love map is something that stuck with me. And it is like knowing your partners, inner worlds. Like we will draw that this is are your hopes, dreams, and fears. So now I have a boundary that is created. Okay, that is one thing.
yeah,
Then sharing, fondness and admiration. That was one thing that he
yeah,
always talk about. So I think men are pretty much, taking everything for granted. Like I've seen this in my house, like that in a positive way. My dad used to always appreciate what mom used to cook, no matter how it has been made. So, so it was like the first bite you take, you have to come up with an, appreciation, at least not for the taste, but at least the intention of making the food for us, or the efforts. So that was the main thing that what my dad talked about. It is not about the taste; it is about the effort that he say, "Arey, the food is really lovely. Thank you so much." That is what he used to say. So I think men usually take that for granted, and I've seen into my in-laws' house that it is taken for granted. So I was the only, son-in-law who used to come and appreciate my sasuma, my mother-in-law, that "Arey, acha bana hai khana," and she used to remember that "Arey, he is the one only person who used to give," and that is out of culture. That is out of I have not picked it up. I picked it up from my father. So I think
Upbringing.
upbringing part. I think this was the principle. Somewhere he knew it or something like that. Like sharing, founding, and administration is like something that is talking about respect as well. Okay, because it is a respect. We say that okay, this is how we have to do a respect for a person who is really taking the extra mile for us. Okay, and tuning towards instead of away. Tuning inside. So that is one thing that I've felt like recognizing and responding to bids for attention and support. So that is something I just made it a point कि मैंने जो जो लिखा था ना whatever I've understood. So I've just made it a point कि क्या होता है उसमें. So he talked about this sharing, building love maps, sharing, fondness and administration, uh, tuning towards insteads of aways. Means we have to have attention and support that has to be given, and conflict management. So we have those conflict management theories where win-win situation. Okay, and then we get gentle startups. We used to have like approach conflict without blaming and harsh criticism. So it is a very basic skill, but it will save you a lot much of divorces that are happening today. just because we are so insensitive, we are not listening to our spouse, just because we have this particular kind of performative masculinity where men doesn't bend down. Okay, he had that particular, spine which is not flexible. He is not going to bend down to women or appreciate. So that is something that I've always felt that this particular, role or labor, emotional labor, can be eased out if we talk a little bit of feminine language as a masculine guy. There is nothing wrong, because I think everybody understands terminology in that specific sexist language. Okay, it is sexist, but I have to make utilization of those words. We have to learn those particular words of feminine expression, but we are like missing those out. We are very blunt about it, and that is a skill that we have to develop. So I think relationship is something there which can ease down a little bit of emotional labor in both sexes. So that is one thing that I wanted to brought it up. Any other experience that you guys have which you think that has to be incorporated when it comes to emotional labors?
Edwin, do you want to go?
Edwin is like, why Gokul is not taking up is that, अरे यार मेरा शादी नहीं हुआ है, how am I supposed to contribute? I'm still single. Yeah, yes, Edwin.
Okay. See, I'll take it like HR can also need to learn about transactional analysis.
Very true.
So that to some extent will look at like the pack model, the parent, adult, and child, and that
Right.
can sort a lot of issues when you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at a conflict governance. But
Right.
HR is not looking at that dimension. That
Mm-hmm.
can also be part of the HR forums where people can be taken up, and then also we can also look at like ADR,
Mm-hmm.
alternative. Gokul, you want to try something on that?
ADR, alternative.
No,
Boliye,
I
boliye,
don't.
boliye. ADR is about a law terminology where we are looking about resolution, alternative dispute
Dispute.
resolution.
Resolution. Okay.
See, there are a lot of terminologies, different subjects are teaching us,
Mm-hmm.
but issue is it is
Practice.
different. It
Mm.
is different. This is different. We have demarcated a person to have a
Mm.
governance of all those things so that he's like a learned person. Are you a learned person is a
Mm-hmm.
question, or are you a literate person? We can learn so many
Right.
things, but are we
Mm.
nurturing those learning into our day-to-day activities becomes a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about Aditi Devo Bhava for
Mm.
our guests.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing to our own relatives? What are we doing to them? What are we doing
Mm.
to our own parents? What are we doing to our kids?
Right.
What are we doing to our wives at home?
Mm.
Are
Mm.
we respecting them?
Mm.
Are we giving them that time to come out of their cocoon or anything? See,
Right.
butterfly has a very good way of coming out,
Mm.
but if we spoil that the transformation process, it will not
Mm.
have a survival.
Mm-hmm.
And we also go to our cocoon and come back, but are we transforming ourselves like Gokul had said? We're only looking at a lot of transactions happening, but
Mm-hmm.
there is no transformation thing happening
Mm-hmm.
because everything is in the mind saying, I am supreme
Mm.
from
Right.
our Kamal Hassan. I am supreme. Your Kalki AD talks about the supreme, right? So we are looking
Right.
at
Mm.
masculinity is not about we being
Mm.
macho.
Mm.
It's about we being normal and adjusting to the
Mm.
situation
Right.
and nurturing the opposite gender as well, giving them
Right.
their space.
Right. Yeah, right. I think, Edwin, this is a very valid point, as you said that adapting. I think when we talk about feminism and masculinism, and when we say that men are becoming less masculine when they are inviting feminism, it is not. It is a very I think a locked mind or a limited mindset kind of an approach when you say this sentence, because somewhere we feel, okay, yes, ma'am. So somewhere we feel that masculinity has to be rigid. Okay. But throughout the time, if you see, throughout the entire timeline, if you see, men has actually been very much adaptive. Okay. They have started with war. Okay, war required a different kind of a skill set. Then they came into industrialization that required a different skill set. Now they have come into IT that required a different skill set. Now they have come up with a mutual co-space where feminine and masculine both are working. So when I see that men are rigid, when people say that like women especially, when they say men are rigid, they are not accommodating. I think there is as a men or as a feminine, they have to understand what is the language of appreciation of the adaptability. I think men has been there for all the works that are there. They have been from sewage workers, from high risk environment in which they work in wherein if you see that men have actively taken part in that and wherein they have restricted women from not going in there. Okay, so I think some men usually like sewage workers are so dangerous kind of a job, which is like very neglected because the kind of gases that they are exposed to, and there are a lot of mishap that happens. There is no mental health support for them, no hygiene support, no protection gear supports that is there. But we take it so granted. We don't want. We have we ever spoke to a sewage worker anytime in our life? None of us, to be very honest. Ironic, but none of us. We just want, when we speak to them, is only when the garbage is not taken away. Okay, I think that is the only point when we feel like, because we see those particular professions as such a low dignity kind of a thing, and when men are exposed to those kind of jobs which are high risk, no thank, always taken for granted, men would be having such kind of frustration that would be coming in. Okay, they would be having this appreciation nahi ho raha hai. We are not appreciated into society. Our contribution is not there. And I was talking earlier about the hero journey. It is more about self-discovery and leaving a legacy. Because as a man, we know that I think there was one book that I'm not able to recall the title of it. I think it's The Fear of Death or something that, wherein why men usually take this particular riskful journey. Okay, because they know that they are immortal, they are mortal. Okay, so they know that they are mortal, and they don't. If they want to live a legacy of their own, they want to be like immortal. They have to master some skills. They have to contribute to the society wherein their name and their legacy stays. This is how they can live for forever. That is what the main concept of having a hero's journey is. But in today's world, what has happened? The purpose of a man's life has been just come to one aspect of their life is consumerism. That is where we have halted ourselves to. Because I think when you have hero's journey, it is filled with adrenaline, it is filled with dopamine, because you would be going outside in the world, you would be discovering a lot of people, a lot of places, a lot of situations which are challenging. Okay, so that is one thing that is there. And once you have a comfort zone where you have been supplied unlimited of calorically high foods, unlimited supply of dopamine in terms of gaming, porn, and all other things. So how that particular man is going to go into the society and take his journey? So this is where I think the next question that I want to ask about is, does adequating for mindful masculinity dilute traditional men role and values? What do you think? Do you think that mindful masculinity is required right now?
I'll take it from the previous discussion you took it, Abhijit.
Yeah, yeah,
See,
tell me.
we watched in Hindi Munna Bhai MBBS, and in Tamil it is Vasul Raja, Kamal
Right,
Hassan.
right,
So in Munna Bhai, he appreciates a person who is cleaning the hospital,
right, right.
Jadu ki Jhappi.
Jadoo ki Jhappi.
It is where are we appreciating people who are giving their life for you.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'll connect it to also the people who are working in our forces,
Hmm.
armed forces, air force
Right,
or navy.
right, right.
उनका जो जुनून है for the country is different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you connect masculinity to that, or do you connect integrity to that, or do you connect the love for the nation? There's a very thin line because you have a ad Mountain Dew, डर के आगे जीत है. What is that?
Hmm. Yeah, but I think these two example, I just sorry to interrupt you, but these two example are set apart. Means I think when we compare patriotism with a sewage worker or anybody who is doing a insignificant job, I even take as an HR, for example. we can't compare it because the entire perks, the entire motivation, the entire transition of that particular role, and the background for which they are trained for, the sign up, the perception of that particular job, that what kind of efforts, sacrifice I would be requiring, and what kind of pride it would bring to. Because that is a lot of, a lot many times, same happened when, Anna Sebastian, who was, uh, we're just diverting from the topic, but I just want to make it a valid point over here. When Anna Sebastian or any corporate worker who dies in, okay, and they are compared with soldiers. Soldiers are fighting for the country, wherein Anna Sebastian or employees are actually earning money for the corporate capitalistic. So there is no kind of a direct judgment that you will do. Okay. So that is where we have to really define this masculinity that is there. Okay. Masculinity is something that in last episode we talked about the spine and the guts. Okay. You should have the balls. We'll say that. Okay. I want to use that word because spine is all about standing for what you believe in, which is right, and the gut is for supporting that with a emotional fearlessness and with rationality or emotional strength. So if you stand for something, then you have to back up with that particular emotion, that is bravery, standing still or not making partiality, being transparent. So these two are required. But in today's world, because of this particular consumerism, we have lost that particular part. We are more into pulled into that particular area where we tend to mingle up masculinity with most celebrated part, and we have this bipolar examples. One, it is so high that we don't have any comparison, and that creates a huge gap and pressure on a person. Hoता nahi. Usually we say that there is a role model, but who is a role model? We always take God as a role model. That is
Extreme level.
yeah, the epitome of the yeah, that is because I would be nervous here if I don't reach there. Okay, only 5% would reach there, and 5% can't be normal. Okay. Huh. I can be someone who is like, I am like 20% on right now. I can be 50% of what I am right now. That is something. So there was one video that was talking about, I don't know, remember the audio, the author of it, but mediocrity has to be celebrated sometime. Because mediocrity is nothing wrong in that, because 9 to 5 is also something that you have to, celebrate. Because it is the biggest chunk who is paying taxes. Not everybody is going to be entrepreneur. So, yeah, because that is where the falsification of masculinity is there. Okay. Because I think Ranveer Kapoor has actually diluted the entire concept of being, that particular guy whose dreams are not fulfilled. And he is the person who is fulfilling his dream, going against his parents, going against his father, who is mediocre. And then he achieve it. And that is just 2 or 5% of the entire population. Yeah, having a high dream is okay, but having something at the base and then developing yourself, we want to make that leap, to Steve Jobs. We can, but we have a steps. Same like hierarchy of need. We have steps of achievement. And the thing is like that particular journey is boring. That doesn't excite you, right? It doesn't excite you. So that is something that is boring. And masculinity right now is so hyperly stimulating. Like we are so highly stimulated right now that small steps are so filled of boredom that we don't even try them. So either we will be like nihilistic, "Arey nahi, nahi." I will start complaining that Steve Jobs was bad. He is a capitalistic. Mukesh Ambani is bad. He is like, chrono capitalistic. He is doing all those things. Because anything that we can't achieve, we start hating it. That is the one thing. So first of all, I think there should be a progression of masculinity, that where we stand like at least the bare minimum of masculinity, and then we'll reach for the higher goal. So I think this is where the mindful masculinity is something that I would like to advocate over here, and I want to understand your, view on that. That the progression has to be in such a way that it's not supposed to overwhelm the entire masculinity definition that we are carrying and that we are taking forward. Otherwise, what will happen? People won't achieve it. People will go back to their comfort zone and they will stay over there. Yes, Edwin, I want your opinion on this.
Okay, okay, okay. Perfectly fine. Uh, I talked about the two extremes, and then
Hmm.
in HR we look at people like whoever we are being bringing into the company, there are two perspectives.
Hmm,
One
hmm,
is like we want a cultural fitment. We
hmm,
say
hmm.
cultural fitment.
Right,
So I have two dynamics to that. If you're bringing cultural fitment, are we putting in people into the rat race? Because we have to look at the same journey for them, each one of them, because we're looking at them aligning with something,
right.
right?
Hmm.
And when we're talking about innovation and disruption, we want somebody who can think out of the box, or people who are not straightforward.
Hmm, hmm.
And some people have the thought process saying जो पागल है वो नहीं कर सकता. So how do you define that? Can we connect masculinity to that? That's one thought I want to ask.
I think means one thing that I felt now, Edwin, in this all journey, that we can bifurcate, we can dissect the problem very well. And when it comes to masculinity, it is really complex. We have to accept this particular fact that masculinity is complex. We can't say that okay, this is the point and this is the masculinity. I think the only thing that we can judge is how society is bearing the cost of the masculinity definition and feminine definition that is there. So if we have peace, if we have gender equality, if we have so behavioral aspect, if we have women representation, if we have less homicide against women, or less crime against women, or oppressing the weaker genders. So I think this is where we will say that masculinity, what is right now in the society, is right, because we can't have a pinpoint one, because if I say that masculinity is this particular set of things, and that is what the difficulty is, that is what movies are been doing, right? They are putting that particular framework, right? Masculinity.
Wrong
Yeah.
promotion of things.
Yeah, so we have that particular performative masculinity that I was talking about last time,
Yes.
that we are more performative. If I have Armani's watch, if I have a beard, if I have certain kind of hairstyle, if I have certain kind of physique, if I have certain kind of a car, if I have a Thar, I will say, if I have a Thar car, then it is something that I would be a masculine. But if I would be someone who is minimalistic, if I'm someone who raise voice on different political scenarios, if I am more of a cerebral person, okay, that is what is there. That is not termed as a masculinity. That is something that is termed as he is a weak person. So this is where I think we can't have a definition when you say that can we attach this to masculinity. I think whatever but mindset we have, whatever behavior we have, and if the replication of those behavior is somewhere acceptable by the society and all the people that are there, the democratic view, that I am feeling safe today. I am feeling, I think I am feeling creative. I am feeling very positively connected to everybody. I am feeling certain things that is there in the society on the bare minimum thing. So I think that would be defining, that would be saying that the masculinity level that we have and the feminine level that we have is optimum, but we can't connect directly. That is the main point.
Then we are looking at it as a fluid thing. It is a free flow.
Yeah, it's a. I think that's where one of the saying is there, that how to reach to the original you. It is like removing what is not you, right? Means
Absolutely.
whatever you are not, remove that. That is the only process to reach whatever you are. So whatever is false, whatever is been put onto you, which is of not of your use, not as what is not true, what is not relevant, which is not realistic. If you remove that, then whatever remains is you. And I think this is where we have to start our journey. That whatever we have learned and picked up as masculinity throughout this process of societal pressure, peer pressure, the way we have seen masculinity from from our childhoods and in our families, in our society, we have to question all those things. Is it really functional or not? So I hope
I
I have
think
answered your question on that part.
yes. So I take it like unlearn, learn, and relearn over here. And
Yes.
then connecting to your point, I have Dr. AVM's example.
Yeah.
Like we say we want to jump into the next level.
Hmm.
but one person can't take what do you say, a buffalo, a full grown buffalo at one go. But if
Hmm.
he had practiced the one calf which was born, every day he's lifting it up, it would be easy for him to lift the buffalo when the
Wow.
calf becomes the buffalo. But
Right,
are
right.
we ready for that transformational journey?
Very
And
true.
then like HR has KSA. I'll
Key.
take
Knowledge, skill,
knowledge,
attributes.
skill, and attributes.
Yeah,
So in
right.
attributes, I take it, instead of attributes, I take it like agility,
Hmm.
ability, and
Hmm.
attitude.
Okay. A3.
This three
Hmm.
A3 can look at
Hmm.
defining the realms of masculinity and feminism. Don't
Hmm.
And another issue is we are stereotyping it across because we have seen it that way.
Hmm.
So
Right.
that becomes a challenge. And I
Hmm.
think last time we also pointed few things on like diversity, in equity,
Hmm.
inclusion, and belongingness.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we need to look at a society where it is inclusive and belonging for everyone.
Right. Right. Very true. Great. Yes, Gokul, anything that you want to share?
I think like I had a point that just even just like the last two lines
Yeah.
that was the point that I had, and he just added everything. So
Okay, great.
yeah.
So,
That's the problem with every HR. They don't allow other people to say, I'm sorry, Gokul.
That's not an issue. Like whoever
it,
comes up with the points, not an issue.
I was also want to refer as Edwin has bring up this topic. I would just want to add up to this. That our there was like two discussion that was going on that what is women contribution in making or raising a particular individual, and what is the masculine part into raising a particular individual. So he has given a very good example in that particular part. He talks about that our entire feminism or feminism part is related to our education system. Okay, so education system was very much in line with producing employees uh, which are ready for jobs. Okay, taking orders, working in factories, working as an employee. Okay, so that was the thing of the past in 1980s and 70s. That was something that was required because we were going through that particular phase. And what has happened that now the feminine part or the feminine part of education system is not able to address. Because when I say toxic masculinity is it is not a toxic masculinity. It is like masculinity not handled well. That's what the toxic is ripped out. That is one thing that I felt like. So when feminine society or feminine education system is producing men into an environment which is now very dynamic, which has always been dynamic, but it is very aware of dynamism and wherein creative solution is required. Okay, where we don't require people saying yes sir and no sir and very docile or very submissive. We require people who are more creative. But the two fields which come from the feminine type of education system is science and commerce. If I just put it into two brackets, commerce and science, that's it. Arts, though, okay, it's not that much evolved, but now it is an explosion of fields. We see people living out of any of their hobby that is there and making that as a career. Okay, that is what the field is all about. It is nothing that we have to take orders. Now we have to think about for our own selves that which skill which I can monetize. So that was one of the discussion that we were doing with HRs in our past HR think tank, that every HR who is 10 plus of years experience, they have to start their side hustle. They have to start working as an IC now, individual contributors now. Because after 10 years, you are expert of that field. And now you have to see in that how your knowledge has been capitalized. That is what the environment that we are into. Okay. But now that particular partner, that education system, the feminine part has like lost her relevance. So masculinity is left to the modern gurus that are there. Okay. So I think Peterson is there. I think if Gokul can relate to that. Uh, so Peterson is there. Andrew Tate is there. Okay. We have a lot of people who are representing toxic masculinity, some point. Where Peterson is talking about stoic philosophy more. And stoic is all about repressing your emotions, being very rational, not expressing yourself, being very tough. Very Tate is very much loud. He is all about what? He suppress people. Like women are from this particular part, they have to be suppressed. So that is what the narrative is there. That is where the masculinity is teaching the upbringing or the people that is there, or the younger childrens are there, or male childrens are there. They are being guided by this kind of gurus. So this is where the disorientation is happening altogether. This is where I feel there is an unfair judgment when is rising feminism and changing rational dynamics. So this is where the problem is there. So what I felt now when you said, Edwin, that we have this kind of a problem, can we relate this particular part to masculinity? It is a very complex part. We have to sit together, and self-awareness is something that lies in the centerpiece of that. Because if you're not aware of that particular fact, that what would work for me and what won't work for me, this is where the hero's journey comes in, that he have to just take his self path, be reliant on himself. And in that particular process, he have to get away of this feeling that I am not enough, but try to explore himself. So I think the education system is now what is required is more masculine oriented than a feminine oriented. And when I say masculine oriented, it's not about aggression. It is all about, coaching, mentoring, finding his self-worth, standing for the right things, and being rational, emotionally intelligent. That is what is required right now, which is more in tune with the creative solution that is required for today's world and economy. So that is how I see it. So with my entire monologue, I want you to
No, no,
see what do you think?
I'll
Yeah.
take it like when we did our schooling, we had
Uh,
moral science and value education.
yeah.
So we
Five
were at
marks
least
each.
at 5 marks, at
Five
least
marks
some bits
each.
of marks. So we
Yeah.
brought in some cliche to the value education, like respecting our elders and all those things, but
Right.
to some extent normalized. When you look
Hmm.
at my own kid now, he doesn't have that subject. So I
Yeah.
have a big question mark saying, where has those ethos gone?
Hmm.
See,
Hmm.
we are looking at the issue is also I'll send it to like you are saying about the education system. When the
Hmm.
Britishers brought in the education system, it was for a clerical job post,
Right.
a transaction one. Now
Hmm.
we are
Hmm.
looking at transformation. So the education system has been changed now with
Right.
our national education policy and different
Hmm. Hmm.
frameworks being brought in. We are looking
Hmm.
at
Hmm.
more actualization of liberal arts, wherein people from different backgrounds can jump into different things. So
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
a new way to look at like how interconnect and inter collaborations can happen. So I think
Right.
some to some extent education system is also evolving, and a lot of
Hmm.
changes has been brought in. So
Hmm.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed to ensure like there are people, I will not say masculine person or a feminine person, I'll say people are more empathetic to live a life which is more responsible and resourceful for the other person.
Hmm. 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 Right. Right. Yes, Gokul, anything that you want to contribute on this?
Nothing from my side.
Okay.
It became like some corporate meeting, like where I just say nothing from my side right now.
No, I think what we are trying to establish over here is the base as Edwin gave a very beautiful example of, if you want
Yeah,
to lift a buffalo, you have to start it from the calf. And I think
exactly,
catch them when they're young. But
exactly.
for a right sense, that's the marketing term, like catch them when they're young, to make them as a youngest consumer for any product that is there. So that's why most of the sugary product or health product are really targeted to kids on YouTube and lot many advertisement platform that is there. So I think this is where we as where we work as a corporate representations of how a person would be functional emotionally,
Yeah,
and how he can be contributing to the society and the corporate environment and to the country in a large picture, and the society. This is where we have to make them understand that this is what is lacking for whatever stress and anxiety and depression and burnouts that you're facing
yeah,
because of a certain kind of miscommunicated masculinity and feminism that is there. And we can't have each of them against each other. That is one thing that is there, because
Exactly.
most of us, in a longer run, when we are not able to understand what is feminism, as a masculine person or as a man, we try hating feminist activity or feminism itself. Because if you don't understand anything, we try to hate it. That is what we do. We don't want to understand it, because we indifferent everybody. We try to make that categorization. If it is not like me, then it is different, and that's how the toxicity is creeping into every field, that wherever men and women are coming in, even in our
Yeah.
families, even in our workplace, even while I think there was one serial killer who has posted his entire killing spree on YouTube. I am not able to remember. He was like 17 years guy, and he was being rejected by three females, and he take it so much to his heart that he was like on to his killing spree. He went into malls, into his schools, started shooting randomly, started hitting and running pedestrian over the road. So that is where, and at the end he killed himself. Okay. So, very tragic and brutal way of ending up. But the thing is, like, why that particular person was not able to associate, with compassion and with sensitivity, is because the rejection was so much against his masculinity. Okay, the definition that why girls are saying no to me. That is what the last sentence was there. That if they're
Yeah.
saying no to me, they are not worthy of living. That's what his quote was. So
Yeah.
that is where I think the flexibility in terms of, or the resilience, not the flexibility, but the resilience is important. Yes, yes, Edwin.
Gokul, you please go ahead to say something, then I'll say.
No, no, no. Like you mentioned about, like, like lifting that cow until it becomes the bull, right? So like
Hmm,
the thing with that is, like, a lot of people lack the consistency in that behavior. Like it could be a lot of boring work when we
hmm,
are,
hmm,
like learning and unlearning. It might not be glorified or romanticized in the
hmm,
pop culture, in the society, in the media, and in social
hmm,
media and all,
hmm, hmm,
but still staying to that integral self to ourselves.
hmm, hmm,
I think that is important. That consistency in whatever we do is
hmm,
important. Like in terms of whatever the things that we want to see. Like say, for example, if we want to have like equal opportunities for both men and women, and like men also have to learn certain things, and women also have to learn certain things, and that learning, like it has to happen on a daily basis. As like all of a sudden, if we bring on something, like it wouldn't work. Like we'll have to, like, lift the cuff one day at a time and on a daily basis. Yeah, you can go on anyway.
right.
No, I watch a lot of movies, so I'll correlate to that.
Hmm,
Yeah.
The best movie in that in Bollywood was Chichore.
hmm, hmm, hmm.
See,
Right.
it's a story about a student
Hmm,
where parents are talking about what can be done when he gets the passing marks or something. We
hmm,
don't
hmm,
address failure.
hmm, hmm.
That's a big challenge because we have been put into a culture where saying it's always about wins, wins, wins. It's
Right.
not about winning. It's about how do you handle that acceptance, or how do you handle that situation to look at the failure.
Hmm, hmm.
And we always have tantrums and everything, and we say failure is the first step to success. But are
Very
we
true.
nurturing the person who has failed?
Hmm, hmm,
Are
hmm.
we giving them the second chance?
Right.
That's one way to look at it.
Hmm, hmm.
And another issue is okay, so how many of you know about Mofra?
Mofra. No.
Mofra.
No, no idea.
No.
Okay, how many of us know about Usain Bolt?
Yeah, Usain Bolt. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mofra would be the
Usain
second
Bolt,
one. Yeah.
no, 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 not the second runner,
Okay.
Abhijit.
Okay.
Usain Bolt is a person who has done wonders in 100 meters and 200
Right.
meters,
Right.
right?
Right.
Mofra is the same person who did wonders in 1,000 and 10,000 in that long sprint.
Right.
We as
Hmm.
consumers are only taking who is short lived, Usain Bolt.
Hmm, hmm,
We are
hmm, hmm.
not looking at a longer run, the one who is running the big show,
Very
right?
true.
So our mindset itself needs to change.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
I'll
Yes.
leave the door open.
Yeah, I think this is one factor, that the patience and the perseverance and the resilience. What are the three things that we require in terms of mental wellness? Because not all of us would be Steve Jobs, not all of us would be Usain Bolt, not of us, all of us would be Mukesh Ambani. We would be somewhere that is, and that too is a marketing gimmick, you know. That is where the role modeling and the entire market is actually pushing you to the extreme. It is not balancing out the view that is there. So even if you look at the movies that are being putting into the shelf right now, which are more pertaining to women's struggle, like let's say Lipstick Under a Burqa, Lapata Ladies, then there are Pink, Thappad. Then there are lot many movies which are referring to women's struggle mentally. That is societal
Stereotype.
putting it. Yeah,
An
means
issue is these directors are not
stereotyping.
coming from a background to understand what
Yeah,
pressure a male guy goes through.
yeah. I mean, that's why. And how much of male concerned movies are there? Like Three Idiots is there. I think what I remember of. Then Chichora was something that was there, but it was a mixed one, which is specific to male-oriented thing. I think Fight Club was one of the movies that was there. If you have watched that,
Yes. Yeah.
and even Taxi Driver was there, but it was in the negative part. So very few movies are there who actually talks about what men are going through when their emotional part is there. Wherein Taxi Driver was very much negative in terms of he is not able to handle. And when I gave you the example when men are not able to understand what feminism is, and if they are not able to accommodate that, they will start hating them to the core of it. They would go to the extent of killing them or killing themselves. So this is where I think as a society, because I think movies are a depiction of how much of attention we give to certain critical issues, and we as a society we are not making movies on those particular topics. I think Udan was one more movie. Yeah, Udan was there. So if you have watched Udan movie, that is also talking about father and
Father
son's
and the son
relationship.
relationship. Yes.
So these movies are very sparingly scattered. Okay, very sparingly, and they are not celebrated as men health concerned movies. They are not forming any cult, wherein we have a cult of women oriented empowerment movies are there. So I think and how men movies are there directed, फिर वो अपना जवान आ जाएगा. Then we have all movies which are glorifying like Bagi and all those things which are talking about ultra masculine males, who like James Bond, for example. Okay,
That
that
is
is
part
one of
three.
the yeah, means James Bond is something that is really stereotypical. Like it's a very glorified stoic male figure propagandist. So like emotionally तो detach होता ही है, which is normalizing, and they are normalize this behavior. Mean the dangerous part is normalizing it. So I think this is where when you talk about like the floor is open. So these are all the scattered piece that is or the content that is there for our consumption, and then it is open for open for interpretation. Okay, same goes with the adult content that is there. Very toxic masculinity is there. Okay, one of the most beautiful experience, but very toxically represented. So this is where the entire and thing is like Shah Jahan has made Taj Mahal for Mumtaz. That was the kind of love can make you do, or can let you do that, to go to that extent. Or even if I want to give example of Manji, if have anybody have saw this movie Manji?
No.
No. Okay, so this movie talks about a guy who is from Bihar, and he is like the entire village is deprived of a road. Okay, road का deprivation होता है. They have this particular big mountain in front of their village, and they have to cross that mountain and go to the other village for medical services. And in that process, his wife dies because of that particular. Then they have to take that long route. And
He
if
got
they
the
go,
award, I think.
yeah, he has got that award. So
Yeah.
now, what I'm talking about here is like the relationship where there was a parameter that Mumtaz and Taj Mahal and Shah Jahan was the epitome of how men and women relationship would be there. At what extent that you go in, but I think I would relate to more Manji because he was the person who started excavating the entire mountain for 17 to 20 years,
Yes.
and he single-handedly made that road, which actually cut down the eight 4 hours journey to something around half an hour or 1 hour. So that is what he has
Absolutely.
done. That is a contribution. So I think that is the masculinity. Okay, wo masculinity, going every day and breaking that particular mountain every day, and for what? Okay, and that has not been credited anywhere. That is not celebrated anywhere. I think that guy is far more stronger of will and wit and sensitivity and emotional intelligence than the person who has been shown as somewhere in any of the series that we have as James Bond as well.
Or
So
Kabir Singh or
Kabir
Animal.
Singh, yeah, Kabir Singh Animal Woman. That is the epitome of hyper masculinity that is there. So, so that is the problem with other society. When we talk about, and I think I was blessed in terms of getting a father who has that kind of view, and now I'm again blessed by connecting with people who have those kind of view. So now I think I always had this particular kind of understanding that when woman is in trouble, and the causality and the problem area is men, I think we can't work on women. We have to work on men. Woman empowerment, Sada, I think we want men liberation more in terms of understanding.
I'll have a joke over here with regard to saying,
Yeah.
when an accident happens, it's a
Hmm.
situation, okay? When
Hmm.
an accident happens and the accident has happened to a lady, everyone will
Hmm.
come and help,
Yes,
right?
that's
And
true.
but when a man or a person has had an accident, it will
Hmm.
come in the end. It is for Ram Ram Satya hai.
Right, right. True, very true. So I think this is how it shows, na, that we have that particular thing, na, that if the same thing, if on the road, if woman has a unfunctional car or something like that, men will go and help her. But men का अगर गाड़ी बंद पड़ जाता है, nobody, they would just watch what he is doing. Okay, or they might laugh as well. Okay, वो भी होता है. So I think I think the brotherhood is also something that we have to develop. I think that is something that is missing out in a lot of, because of the hyper competitiveness, because we always see other men as a competitive. The way women look at them as a jealousy is their sin. I think men ka jo sin hai, it is all about competitiveness. That is what we feel like. So that is where we are struggling a lot. And I think that was one of the scenario that I want to talk about. So at the end, you want to wrap up something, like you want to make a final statement, Edwin or Gokul. We'll go with Edwin and then we'll go to Gokul.
Yeah.
I think we both have spoken a lot.
Yes, I will go to Gokul first. So Gokul, whatever you have picked up in past 1 hour 15 minutes that we have spoke.
That's nice. That there needs to be a change,
Hmm,
mostly from the men's side. And as you mentioned at last, the brotherhood among men should also develop, where like men should be okay with opening up with their fellow mates.
right.
And the calf example that Inwin said,
You
like that
stuck.
just stuck with
Yeah,
me. I'm definitely sure whoever watches this, like keep it in their minds.
right.
So consistency in whatever behavior that we are trying to put out
Hmm,
is something that is also important. These are my key takeaways, and I believe like there is a lot more insights in this that Inwin spoke with us today that is helpful for the audience.
great, great. Yes, yes, Edwin.
I'll take it like openness,
Hmm,
adapt, and listen.
hmm.
I think that should be enough for the day.
Yeah, I think that is something that is really important. And as for all the audience who have been with us or whoever is listening to this particular session of ours, this is second episode, and definitely you would be coming up with more of these series with different topics. Definitely for topics which are related to corporate mental health and other aspects of mental well-being when it comes to corporate and individual life as well. So to wrap up this particular session, I would say, as Gokul said, that yes, every day we have to practice about what we are trying to imbibe in ourselves, the value, and then only they would be part of our habitual or a habit. And habit is the part of your behavior. And I think behavior is the accurate example or validation of what you believe in. So that is one thing. And as Edwin has said that yes, we have to look into all those aspects which are going to enhance our emotional quotient that is required. That is something that we have to strive every day for, and which has to be practiced and incorporated into our daily lives. And from my end, to make it sure that let's together try and break this particular uh, masculine or macho man syndrome that we are having. We have to be more open with our feelings. We have to not rationalize our feeling, but try to understand and regulate our feelings. That is what we can do. We have to increase our vocabulary in terms of what mental wellness is, what are different emotions that we have, what are different facets that we have. Self-awareness stand in the center point of every journey that you're going to take in. That is the main thing, and we are always there to help. Gokul is there with his tools and his in-depth expertise into handling with anxiety and burnout. Edwin is always there in terms of coaching people in terms of how to success into field of corporate, and wisdom seed is always there in order to handle any kind of issues that are coming in between of mental wellness in corporate as well as in individual part. So we are there whenever you require again your entire might in this particular series and putting your I would say an intellectual outlook about this particular topic. So thank you so much, and we'll stay connected and hope you have enjoyed the episode. So please try and subscribe to our channel, and we are coming up with next series as well. So thank you. Have a great night ahead. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.